Introducing a completely redesigned experience that you can sense. And that senses you. The new Dell Latitude laptops bring your work closer to you.
Tonight, a pair of 16-year-old boys arrested over the sickening attacks on Beach Road cyclists.
The regional hospital accused of filling beds with fake patients for a visit from the Health Minister.
The thug who bashed former North Melbourne captain Jack Zeeble escapes with a fine.
A summer blast on the way, temperatures tipped to nudge 40 degrees on the weekend.
Melbourne lagging behind as property prices hit record highs across the rest of the country.
And the biggest ever Powerball prize up for grabs, the astronomical odds you'll need to snare the lot.
This is Melbourne's 9 News with Alicia Loxley and Tom Steinfort.
Good evening. 2 16-year-old boys have been arrested over the sickening hit runs on Beach Road cyclists. One of the crashes posted to social media.
One teenager fronted court today, his lawyer revealing it's his first time in custody. And a warning, Stephanie Anderson's report contains confronting video.
It's evidence of a sickening attack uploaded to social media, and now police allege it's the work of teenagers.
When I first saw this vision, it was shocking and I was beside myself.
2 boys were arrested last night in Noble Park following what 9 News understands to be a lengthy standoff as police negotiated with one standing on a roof. The 16-year-olds are now in custody, one under police guard in hospital, the other slapped with 14 charges, accused of driving a stolen vehicle into 2 cyclists on Beach Road last week, then driving off. Father of 3, Glenn Gibson, and a 72-year-old Bentley Eastman were seriously injured.
It was so confronting that the next day or so around Beach Road specifically, it was very quiet. No one was getting out.
Appearing in a children's court today, the 16-year-old, who we can't legally identify, sat quietly with a black hoodie pulled up around his head. He didn't apply for bail, with the boy's lawyer confirming this is his first time in custody. He'll front court again next week while the police hunt continues for others involved. Stephanie Anderson, 9 News.
A hospital in Victoria's southwest has been told to expect serious consequences if it's found guilty of filling beds with fake patients. It's been accused of enlisting staff and their families to pose as patients during a visit from the Health Minister. State political reporter Mark Santomartino.
In August last year, Kohler Area Health hosted Marianne Thomas. The Health Minister posed for photos with the hospital's chair, its CEO and senior nurses in front of beds allegedly filled with fake patients.
If these allegations prove to be true, this is a very significant breach of trust.
As many as 10 patients were actually hospital staff or their relatives, according to a whistleblower who raised the alarm. The Colac Herald, which broke the story, reports that one arrived via ambulance. Ambulance Victoria has confirmed it's investigating, as is Victoria's Department of Health. This alleged behaviour is completely inappropriate and, if found to be true, there will be serious consequences.
The Ombudsman and IBAC have said there's nothing to see here.
Right now, the only option for the board chair of Colac Area Health, Tim Green, and for the current CEO, Fiona Brew, is to stand down. We need to have integrity in our local health service.
Colac Area Health repeatedly refused our requests for an interview today. CEO Fiona Brew is supposed to start as CEO of Portland Hospital on Monday, but Victoria's Health Minister has stopped short of saying that's a job she should lose.
We need to let the investigation take its course before I take those actions.
If you want health care, don't ask for a hospital bed, ask for a selfie with Marianne Thomas.
Marianne Thomas categorically denies her office had anything to do with the hospital's alleged actions.
Absolutely, this has nothing whatsoever to do with my office, and if anyone is suggesting that, then I would take great offence.
Mark Santomartino, 9 News.
A thug who assaulted former North Melbourne footballer Jack Zeeble will not go to jail. Eliza Rugg has the details for us. Eliza, what is his punishment?
Well, Tom, Ibrahim Balouli was convicted and fined $25,000 by a magistrate who described his behaviour as vile, repugnant and utterly stupid. But ultimately he decided to spare the 21-year-old jail, partly because of his age and partly because of his plea of guilty. Jack Ziebel was out celebrating his retirement at the Osborne rooftop bar in South Yarra with teammates, family and friends in August last year. When the Kangaroo star went outside to check on a friend, you can see there he was set upon by Ibrahim Balouli, who punched him and then kicked him on the ground. Ziebel, we know, was sent to hospital with a broken nose. He actually ended up having to have facial surgery. Now, today he and his wife weren't in court, but they did submit victim impact statements detailing the effect that this attack has had on both of their lives, but they elected not to have those statements read aloud to the court. Tom.
Liza Ruck there, thank you. Well, Victorians are being warned to brace for potentially dangerous weather on Sunday with the temperature soaring. Reid Butler is in South Bank for us. Reid, it could be nudging 40 in some parts of the city.
Yes, Tom, it'll feel like a shock to this system. It has, of course, been a bit of a non-summer these past few months, but that could be about to change. The Bureau predicting sky-high temps on Sunday. We have had those predictions recently, and they haven't quite eventuated. This time, though, all signs are pointing to those uncomfortable highs, and even the Health Minister has issued a warning. Mid-20s and sunshine, finally a taste of summer, but it's just a warm-up ahead of a scorcher of a Sunday.
Could even get close to 40 degrees for our far northern and northeastern suburbs.
The warning from the Health Minister, be prepared, especially considering it's been a while since any real heat.
Please take the opportunity to check in on neighbours and family.
Metro is also bracing for the hot weather.
On a really hot day, you can get sagging overhead lines, which can lead to a dewirement or a train getting tangled.
That's among the reasons why custom-built rail maintenance vehicle EV120, known affectionately as Evie, patrols the network, making sure everything stays on track.
We can then predict it by any kind of little tiny deviations of where it should be, which then would turn into a buckle.
With temps nudging 40 in some parts of Melbourne and potentially even hotter in the regions, there is a chance train speeds may need to be lowered on Sunday. The assurance is heat-related disruptions down the line will be dramatically reduced thanks to Evie, and same goes for any delays linked to wet weather. The Bureau says Bayside suburbs will escape the worst of the heat on the weekend, but one of the key concerns lies further afield. The fire risk is dangerous on Sunday, especially in western and northwestern parts of the state, with dry and windy conditions. Reid Butler, 9 News.
The Albanese government is pledging more cash in your pocket with inflation falling and tax cuts now on the horizon.
But as Charles Croucher reports, the Prime Minister says he won't pressure the Reserve Bank on interest rates.
There's been lots of advice for the Reserve Bank lately, but rarely like this.
Now that inflation has turned a corner, they should act just as quickly to cut rates as they did to increase rates.
Labor Premier Stephen Miles shot from the Sunshine State, leaving Canberra coy.
The Reserve Bank of Australia are an independent body and the government doesn't direct them.
While rate cuts are off limits, price cuts are expected to be on the way.
We need to keep working together to keep those prices coming down. We're expecting to see that over the next 12 months.
Pensioners and those on Job Seeker will see their payments rise with routine indexation in March, before the budget in May. In June, a review of minimum wage rates, plus the first predicted interest rate cut, all before tax cuts begin on July 1.
It certainly gives us a lot of encouragement. We know that people are still experiencing tough times.
Those tough times seeing renters pay more and homeowners slugged through insurance.
$20 being given to you under these proposed tax changes, your rent alone going up $150.
How will this statutory tax cut proposed changes will really alleviate all of those other factors? We're yet to see.
With the coalition yet to confirm their position, any debate so far has been between Labor and the Greens, who want to see the changes go even further to give more for low-income earners.
We could use that money to increase job seeker, so people who are really struggling don't have to skip meals.
What we won't be doing is trading across different issues. We're focused on this.
Charles Croucher, 9 News.
Grieving family and friends have gathered in Dandenong to farewell the 4 victims of the Phillip Island drowning tragedy. As Mimi Becker reports, they came from India for a new life, but their dreams were tragically cut short.
A heartbroken family farewells not one, but
but 4 loved ones.
They were all very young and they just came here for the better future or just to visit me. And in a few seconds, we lost everybody.
Mother of 2, Reema Sondhi, had been in Melbourne for just 2 weeks. Her nephew, Jagjit Singh, was a dedicated aged care worker and nurse. His 20-year-old sister, Sahani, was studying nursing, while 20-year-old Kirti had moved here just 6 months ago.
We're never going to forget them. It's always going to be in our hearts.
Today, their families paid tribute. Uncle lost his sister, niece and nephew, and sister-in-law.
That's maybe the toughest time of our life.
4 lives cut short after their day trip to Phillip Island ended in tragedy when the tide turned at Forest Caves 8 days ago. Reema's husband had been by her side, but managed to get back to safety.
The water was up to the knee height, and when there's a big wave came in, and he saw that wave on top of his head. And they were all holding hands, but that when the wave came back, took all with them. After that, we never saw them.
Today, a final farewell. Loved ones had flown from India, while colleagues in the community came to grieve.
So it's true that grief is the price we pay for our love towards someone.
The family is now channeling that grief into change, adamant that more needs to be done to add better signage and warn others of the dangerous beach.
We just want government to take enough actions that it won't happen to anyone else.
Mimi Becker, 9 News.
2 men have been charged over the fire at Caulfield's Burgertree outlet, and one of them is accused of torching a Bendigo tobacco store on Monday. The owner of the Caulfield shop claimed he was targeted last November because of his views on the Israel-Palestine war, but police say it wasn't a hate crime. Facebook chief Mark Zuckerberg has delivered an extraordinary apology directly to the families hurt by cyberbullying. US Congress has told social media giants you have blood on your hands in a fiery hearing about online safety. Alison Petrowski reports from Washington.
A humbling moment for one of the world's most powerful men.
Would you like now to apologise to the victims who have been harmed by your product? Show them the pictures.
Forced to apologise to the parents of social media's youngest victims.
I'm sorry for everything that you've all been through. No one should have to go through the things that your families have suffered.
Mark Zuckerberg and the bosses of the world's biggest tech firms pushed by the US Senate to do more to protect children from predators. The hearing highlighted Instagram's lack of safeguards to prevent people searching for child sexual abuse material.
Mr. Zuckerberg, what the hell were you thinking?
As well as fears of a mental health crisis due to social media, with anxiety and depression spiralling amongst children and teens.
Scientific work has not shown a causal link between using social media and young people having worse mental health outcomes.
One of the photos in the crowd was of Adelaide schoolgirl Carly Ryan, killed by an online predator in 2007. Her mother Sonia travelled to Washington to take a stand.
It was extremely emotional for me, today particularly on her birthday. She should be here.
Zuckerberg, one of the few to show up voluntarily, others had to be subpoenaed. It prompted a rare show of unity between Republicans and Democrats.
We know these kids are dying.
You have blood on your hands.
Despite both parties sharing their deep criticism of the social media networks today, US Congress is yet to pass meaningful legislation to regulate them and protect their youngest users. Doing so might change the internet as we know it. In Washington, D.C., Alison Petrowski, 9 News.
National house prices have hit a record high, and with interest rate cuts predicted this year, there could be a fresh wave of growth. But as finance editor Chris Kohler reports, Melbourne stands out for all the wrong reasons.
Australian home prices have now risen for 12 months in a row. Stunning when you think that interest rates have risen so much in that time. Over the last year, the median price in Brisbane and Perth soared by nearly $100,000 in 1 year. And Adelaide rose by $68,000. All 3 of those cities are now at record highs. Sydney's growth has slowed dramatically, but it's still up $115,000 over the year.
Is simply this imbalance between supply and demand that naturally is going to be placing upwards pressure on prices, despite the fact that there are clear affordability pressures and cost of living pressures across the household sector.
Melbourne stands out though. Prices are up $30,000 over the year here, but they're now dropping. Once the golden child of the national property market, Melbourne's listing numbers are above their average and demand indicators are below their average. As a result, though, affordability here is improving. In fact, homes in Brisbane are now more expensive than in Melbourne.
Well, fresh from taking out Australian cricket's highest honour, a confident Mitch Marsh believes his resurgence can continue for years to come. The 32-year-old won his first Allan Border medal last night before winning over even more fans with an emotional speech. Joshua Daw reports.
His phone's still running hot after a message which is ringing across the nation.
I've had a few people come up and ask for photos this morning, saying they're a bit fat too.
Mitch Marsh, now an Allan Border medalist, a fairy tale end to his remarkable resurgence for Australia. And with the captain and coach who backed him all the way in the room last night, Marsh's gratitude came pouring out.
You believed in me, and I don't really know. I can't thank you enough for just believing in me. And, I'm a bit fat at times and I love a beer, but one of the things Ronnie said to me is that we can't win the World Cup without you, as I'd just been left out of the team. And it wasn't, at the time I was like, oh yeah, whatever, but it's those little comments that build up over a period of time where I guess you start believing that.
He'd go on to win that World Cup, one of many accomplishments in the last 12 months, which have earned the 32-year-old love from fans he once believed hated him.
You take it all in, and you certainly appreciate all of it. It's been an incredible 6 months, and you certainly want more of that.
But Dad Jeff continues to keep Mitch humble.
I called him, he was in a pool comp at the pub, so he had to call me back, actually.
A two-time Belinda Clark medalist at only 26, Ash Gardner is embracing her tag as the new face of Australia's women's team.
It's exciting to see where this group can get to, and certainly if there's any leadership opportunities that I get to come upon, that would be great.
Joshua Daw, 9 News.
A couple of great winners there, weren't they? No one more likeable than Mitch Marsh, I reckon, Tony.
Absolutely. He's a champ, isn't he? Loves a beer and a little bit fat. Anyway, thanks, Alicia. Australian soccer is in panic mode tonight. The apparent victim of a hack. Nat Unides is following that story. Nat?
Tony, the personal information of some players, including passports and contracts, was released to the public today. Football Australia now scrambling to investigate. I'll have the details on that later in the bulletin.
Thanks, Nat. Also coming up tonight, the AFL's most experienced umpire proposes a radical change. The Dogs' pre-season camp turned sour. We've got news of an injury. As a young Vic prepares for a big audition at the MCG, there is another setback for Will, and Ben's comeback is stopped in its tracks. Also, guys, Chief Footy reporter Tom Morris, let me get this right, with news of a contract conundrum at the Cats.
Excellent.
Important, got that right.
Well done, Tony. Well, when 9 News Melbourne returns, a firebug on the loose in the southeast, a playground and a clubhouse torched.
A warning that better pay for gig workers could deliver huge price hikes.
Half the population to have a ticket in tonight's record-breaking Powerball.
And Livinia speaks to Tim Minchin ahead of the premiere of Groundhog Day.
A firebug is on the run after torching a club room and playground equipment in Chelsea this morning. Firefighters were called to Bond Beach Baseball Club around 1:30, finding the front of the building alight. 20 minutes later, a nearby playground was set on fire. A third blaze was then reported in a front garden of a home. The fires are likely linked.
The cost of food delivery and rideshare trips could skyrocket by 35% under proposed changes to the gig economy. The union has dismissed the estimates as wild assumptions, but experts warn the price pain could be even worse. Heidi Murphy reports.
Plenty of us use one platform or another.
Yeah, Uber, DD. I use Uber Eats and Menu or DoorDash.
He used the app and got Uber Eats, and McDonald's came to the pool. But there may be a big sting coming.
Price increases could be up to 35%.
That's according to analysis commissioned by DoorDash into the proposed legislation that would improve pay and conditions for gig economy riders and drivers.
These are conservative assumptions. If anything, the results are likely to be more severe.
If correct, the 35% more would mean getting a medium cheeseburger meal delivered jumping from $17 to $23, while a late morning rideshare trip from the airport into the city moving from $70 to $95.
If prices went up by 35%, what would you do?
Not do it anymore. Yeah, no.
Well, it's convenience. I guess pay that little bit extra.
No, that's crazy.
Consumers could spend about $1 billion less a year.
These are wild assumptions. They're wrong.
Describing them as a last-ditch scare campaign.
The time for deliberation is over. The time to protect workers is here.
Federal Labor has been attempting to introduce entitlements for gig workers for some time now. The legislation will be back before Parliament next week, and the union believes there's widespread support for the change.
If you're asked, you pay a little bit more to make sure that the worker that is safe, is properly paid. Most Australians would say yes.
Heidi Murphy, 9 News.
Children and police officers are among 9 people injured after a corrosive substance was thrown at them by a man in London. Police are still hunting for the suspect who initially attacked 2 children and their mother. He then turned on members of the public and officers who tried to help.
Russia and Ukraine have exchanged captured soldiers for the first time since the Kremlin claimed 65 Ukrainian prisoners of war were killed in a plane crash. Russia's military says each side swapped 195 soldiers. Kyiv says 207 Ukrainians were returned.
The biggest lottery prize in Australian history is up for grabs tonight, with the Powerball jackpot sitting at $200 million.
But as Alex Heinke reports, to scoop that ultimate win, you'll need extraordinary good luck.
Hard to walk past a $200 million dream, and from the outside looking in, it seems so simple. Buy a ticket and you're a chance. But with an expected 13 million Aussies lining up for the same record-breaking dream, chances are the numbers aren't on your side.
What would you do with $200 million?
Bit of investing, maybe go on a trip, I don't know.
You wouldn't get a haircut?
Nah, I like it the way it is.
If you're dreaming bigger than a mullet, how about a 31-hectare private island in Victoria for $150 million? Or maybe something a little more modest with a price guide of $70 million, this 5-bedroom, 6-bathroom mansion in Sydney's Darling Point includes a harbourside infinity pool. Oh, of course. Time to stop dreaming and figure out how to win with a mathematical mastermind.
The odds of getting the winning numbers in the one game is about 1 in 134 million.
OK, not ideal, but surely there's a chance.
If you think you're going to make money, forget it.
Dr. Stewart says you're as likely as winning tonight's jackpot as you are finding me if I was a marble amongst 8 cement trucks full of marbles that had been dumped on a highway.
If there's a single winning marble in somewhere in those 8 cement trucks and you randomly pick one out of them, that's the same chance.
Next.
Hey mate, just one ticket for the lotto tonight, if that's all right. Well, a slim chance is good enough for me.
Sorry, that declined, mate.
Declined?
Yeah.
Alex Heinke, 9 News.
I was going to say good luck, but he hasn't got a ticket now, so...
I'm finding the marble tonight.
Well, good luck to you, Tom. Lavinia is on the red carpet at the Princess Theatre for tonight's opening of Groundhog Day, the musical. And, Lavinia, you've spoken to the show's creator.
I have, Alicia. Tim Minchin has written the music and lyrics for the adaptation of the beloved Bill Murray film. He's the man of the hour, and I was lucky enough to have a quick chat with him a short time ago. Tim Minchin, Groundhog Day, the musical, has already had a record-breaking run in London, but it must be nice to be in one of your hometowns and showing off your work.
It's pretty great. I lived in Melbourne when I first left West Australia, and I was just starting out and playing in cover bands and playing cabaret, and I kind of struggled here. These are the lean years, and so to come back here with this show, of which I'm very proud, yeah, it feels really good, and especially on an unbelievable Melbourne day.
Yes, there's no Groundhog Day weather here in Melbourne, ever.
No 6 more weeks of winter.
And I guess it's not nerve-wracking for you putting your baby out there because you've already had such an incredible reception.
Yeah, I'm confident in this show as a piece of art. You know, like, there's lots of different ways to measure success. This show's been very critically acclaimed and stuff, but what matters to me is that audiences are warmed and challenged, and this show makes you think and it makes you laugh. But what I want is for people to walk out of a theatre show feeling like more positive, or like going, I'm going to live my life a bit better. And I think this show does that in quite a rare way. And it's not just because of my work. I mean, it takes dozens and dozens of people, half of which are giggling behind us.
It's a very exciting night.
Yeah,
good luck
really
to you
fun.
and to all the cast.
Thank you so much.
And I wish you fine and partly cloudy days for the rest of your life.
Oh, fine and partly cloudy. That sounds like, yeah, I'll take that.
And we've got one of those on the way tomorrow. I'll have the forecast for you later, Alicia.
Fine and partly cloudy is pretty good in Melbourne, I think. All right, coming up for you, a truck driver charged over the deadly Rowville pile-up that killed a father of 2.
Singles giving up on dating apps and searching for love the old-fashioned way.
And young players facing 3 weeks on the sidelines in a major concussion crackdown.
9 News, brought to you by Australia's #1 selling vehicle, Ford Ranger.
Police have charged a 27-year-old man over a crash in Rowville that killed a father of 3. The truck driver allegedly ran a red light before colliding with a grey Kia last month. He also smashed into another 2 cars and crushed a power pole that then fell onto a vehicle. The Dandenong man is due in court tomorrow. The decision to secretly dismantle and bury Australia's entire fleet of Taipan helicopters is continuing to baffle experts.
9 News can reveal Ukraine first asked for the aircraft before our Defence Force started pulling them apart. National Affairs Editor Andrew Probyn.
Once a prized air carrier for Army and Special Forces, Australia's billion-dollar fleet of Taipan helicopters is being unceremoniously stripped and disassembled, destined for secret burial.
It's a really strange decision which a lot of people are struggling to understand. It defies logic in a whole range of areas.
The Taipans were retired following a crash in Queensland last July that killed 4 military personnel. But Ukraine registered interest in them through Liberal Senator David Fawcett at a NATO conference in Copenhagen in October, before Defence began disassembling the choppers.
It's something that should have always been considered when options were being looked at as to how the aircraft would be disposed of.
Ukraine's official request came in December, to no avail.
It's a missed opportunity as of now.
The Ukrainian ambassador Vasyl Miroshnichenko says while his country's very grateful for Australia's support so far, the Taipans would have been used to evacuate injured troops from the front line, despite Defence's concerns about their airworthiness.
When we have this massive Russian army out there hammering Ukraine, I mean, the total risk profile and understanding of risk is different, right?
They're a good helicopter for the sort of utility role that Ukraine needs them for.
Defence saying it's not feasible to return the aircraft to operational state, given the costs, time and technical resources would be significant.
My understanding is that there's potentially a dozen or even up to 20 that could feasibly be restored.
9 News found some of them in this Townsville hangar, where the Taipans are being taken apart. For now, at least, they're headed for a deep pit, in the same way these F-111s were buried in 2011. It's almost 2 years since Russia invaded Ukraine, and there remains hope that Australia might reconsider its destruction of the Taipan helicopters.
We should be not worrying about saving face, we should be trying to save lives.
Andrew Probyn, 9 News.
It looks like finding love in person is becoming trendy again, with dating apps seemingly on the decline. Social researchers say the mobile method had its day during the pandemic, but young people now want to cut back on their screen time. Here's Madeline Spark.
Timothy McClatchy is a single 42-year-old who's ditched online dating.
I was scrolling, an hour or 2 hours a day, and it's wasted time, really. I've got better things to do.
A few years ago, the father of 2 decided to join social groups instead. A crokinole club called the Footscray Flickers and the Rubbish Runners, who clean up the streets.
I'm pretty good at picking up rubbish, not that good at picking up chicks.
Share price data shows dating apps' heyday could be over. Match Group, which owns Tinder and Hinge, among others, hit its peak in October 2021. It's now fallen 78% from $75 billion to $15 billion. Meanwhile, Bumble was only listed a year ago and has already halved in value.
Some reasons for the fall could be the fact that some of these platforms are moving to paid subscriptions. Another one, that young people simply want to start reducing their screen time.
Dialing down the social media or having a quick break from it, and they don't want their relationship building to sort of seem transactional like so many other interactions on the mobile can be.
On the flip side, Darcy Todd says his speed dating business is booming.
Straight out of lockdown, everyone was just looking to get out. So the market was just primed for it. Like I tried one and it just filled.
Madeline Spark, 9 News.
The Australian Institute of Sport has released new concussion guidelines for junior and community sport. It recommends anyone playing community sport be sidelined for a minimum of 21 days after a concussion. Players should also wait 2 weeks and be symptom-free before returning to contact training, while light exercise can be resumed after 24 to 48 hours rest.
We do understand, however, that this is a big change for some sports, and some sports will need to take their time and think about the implications.
It's estimated there are between 100 and 200,000 sport-related concussions in Australia every year, 95% at the grassroots level.
Still ahead in the news, police questioning a man suspected of opening fire on people in the city's northwest.
Used car U-turn prices in reverse as availability improves.
And police come to the rescue of a toddler who really wanted to win a toy. A man is accused of opening fire on a group of people and a vehicle at Hillside in the city's northwest. Police say shots were fired on Canmore Street about 10 o'clock last night. A 23-year-old man was arrested on neighbouring Kenswick Drive this morning. Nobody was hurt in the shooting.
Positive signs for anyone looking to drive away a bargain, with used car prices falling significantly. And experts tip they'll keep heading downwards, as Erin Ramsey explains.
There was an influx of new vehicles into Australia in March last year after pandemic supply issues were resolved, and the price of used cars has been dropping ever since, as much as 1.5% each month, with 2.1 million sold last year. Used cars are now on average selling for 67% of their original value, down from a high of 75%. Sales peaked at more than 300,000 in July, up 24% from January. Toyota leading the charge with 16.3% market share, followed by Mazda and Ford. Ford Ranger came out as the top-selling vehicle, overtaking the Toyota Hilux. The Toyota Corolla, Mazda 3 and Hyundai i30 also in demand.
We expect that those types of vehicles, bread and butter cars, in used will be the most popular and in line with household incomes.
With prices on used vehicles on a downward trajectory, experts believe the trend will continue through the first half of 2024.
Checking money matters now. After hitting a record high yesterday, the ASX tumbled today. Finance editor Chris Kohler.
The 8-day winning streak ended emphatically today. The ASX down 1.2% or 92 points. Investors deciding yesterday's new record high for the index was a good reason to take some profit and back off a bit. All major sectors were lower, showing how quickly the tide can turn, with the banks and miners down sharply. And the Aussie dollar is sitting at 2-week lows tonight, buying 65.5 US cents and less than 61 euro cents.
It's hard enough to snag a prize from a skill tester, but a squirming toddler was an extra challenge for rescuers. Police were called to a Brisbane shopping centre to extract the boy, who'd managed to climb in through the prize chute. More from Lily Greer.
In our criminal justice system, police are called to rescue Queenslanders in their time of need. Sometimes that involves an arcade game and one very determined child. This is Ethan's story. It's past 7 p.m. and the 3-year-old's parents don't quite know what to do. Ethan's trapped in a prison of his own making, one packed full of plush toys, climbing into a claw machine at a shopping centre south of Brisbane.
I was about 2 metres away from him and he was in that machine and up it in a matter of seconds. He just stood up and he just jumped straight on top of all the toys, thinking he was king of the mountain.
He can't, or won't, get out.
Glass? Perfect. Glass.
He doesn't look too worried, but police are called in, quickly hatching a rescue plan. The sign says 2 plays for $5, but officers aren't playing games.
He goes for that back corner. Yep. Bigger tab it than this one here.
Ethan, cover your eyes, hide.
The toddler takes cover and lifted out by police, handed over to his parents who've scored the ultimate prize, Ethan's safety.
You won a prize. Which one do you want?
Ethan was just ecstatic that the police came. He loves the police.
All up, Ethan was inside the machine for around an hour, remaining calm the entire time. He didn't get to take a toy home though, did you? No. His parents want to discourage him from climbing into any more machines.
That was silly, wasn't it?
Yeah. I know it.
As for the message for parents from police,
beware the gumball machine.
Lily Greer, 9 News.
Law and Order. I've seen it all.
That's amazing.
All right.
You should do this.
Let's check in on sport. Tony, what's happening?
Well, not as much as what's happening in Queensland, I can tell you that much. Wow. Anyway, coming up tonight, why the Cats face a year of contract talks. The AFL's top umpire proposes a captain's call. He'll explain why. Soccer chiefs scrambling to assess a hack, players and fans' potential targets. And another injury puts the brakes on Ben.
Intuitive, capable, and above all, intelligent. The Ford Escape is fearlessly designed and makes every day effortless.
We begin sport tonight with yet another soccer crisis. This time, personal information belonging to some of Australia's biggest players has been leaked. Nat Yanidis has been following this story. Nat, it's yet another hack.
Yeah, Tony, this breach has affected both players and fans. Some of the personal information that was released to the public today include player contracts and passports, plus details used by fans to book tickets. Now, at this stage, it's unclear the exact number of people who have been affected by this breach, but Football Australia says it has rectified the issue. Now, in a statement released by the governing body earlier today, Football Australia said that Football Australia is aware of reports of a possible data breach and is investigating the matter as a priority. We will keep our stakeholders updated as we establish more details. Now, it's still unclear exactly what has caused this, whether it is a cyber attack or whether it just comes down to human error. Tony.
All right, thanks for that. Nat. Football now, and Geelong's list management team faces some big decisions this season with no fewer than 15 players coming out of contract. Chief Football reporter Tom Morris joins us. Tom, who are they?
Yeah, Tony, and footy boss Andrew Mackey has plenty on his plate, an ageing list and also a young star that plenty of clubs would love to sign. All up, 13 free agents are on their list, including Tom Hawkins, Paddy Dangerfield, Mitch Duncan. We can't see them playing for any other clubs. But Zach Guthrie's also had a contract. He finished fourth in last year's best and fairest. Tyson Stengel is only a free agent because he was delisted at Adelaide a couple of years ago. But the most attractive available player at Geelong is clearly Max Holmes. Now, clubs such as Collingwood were lining up for him last year. They'll do so again this year. And the Cats would re-sign him tomorrow if they could. But this will likely drag out until the second half of the season. And no doubt his manager, Tom Seckel from Hemisphere, will be fielding lots of calls on Max Holmes. He's one to watch very closely, as are the Cats. We've been saying they're going to fall off a cliff for a number of years. Will it be 2024? We'll have to wait and see. Max Holmes is the player that clubs would love to have, Tony.
All right, Tom Morris with that report. Still on footy, and the game's most experienced umpire has weighed into the debate over a send-off rule. Brett Rosery believes any such introduction would be fraught with danger, but he has thrown up the idea of a captain's call. Braden Ingram explains.
It was one of footy's most divisive moments, and while the Maynard-Brayshaw clash had many seeing red, the league's top umpire is emphatic when talk turns to the idea of a red card.
Definitely not a fan for a send-off, so I'm definitely don't want to add that to the complex nature of our job. There are moments in games that I think I see clearly, and then I look back on replay and they're slightly different. So in that heat of the moment.
With 508 games and 9 grand finals under his belt, Brett Rosery has seen it all. But there is one change that takes his fancy. The introduction of a captain's challenge, just like that in cricket and rugby league, in the hope it would avoid mistakes such as the one that cruelled Adelaide's finals hopes last year.
I'm not opposed to maybe one captain's call or something like that if you wanted to add some theatre to the game late in the game.
The Dogs ramped things up at their pre-season camp on the Sunshine Coast, but Jack McRae will be sidelined for the next fortnight after suffering a low-grade hamstring strain. And after a tough few years with injury, Fremantle's Nat Fyfe is back training exclusively in the midfield, with hype building around the Brownlow medalist.
The way he's gone about it this pre-season is it's really exciting to be around. He seems to be back to the Fyfe of old.
Braden Ingram, 9 News.
Well, Ballarat has had a long history of producing champions. Think Lockett, Frawley, Moneghetti. Now, Matt Short has the chance to join that list. At the MCG tomorrow, Short will audition to become Australia's white ball opener. But as Joshua Dorr reports, his Victorian teammate, Will Pekowski, has suffered yet another setback.
The stands might not be heaving, but this Ballarat boy won't be short of support.
My manager, Zach Whelan, he's sorted out a box for, I think, about 15 people. And then, plenty of tickets on top of that in the crowd.
Player of the Big Bash for a second straight year, Matt Short will bat as low as 7 for Australia tomorrow, despite doing his best domestic work as an opener.
If that's the only way in, then you just have to take that opportunity and try and do as best you can and sort of wait your turn in a way. Who knows, hopefully some performances in the middle order can maybe open up a spot higher up.
Marcus Stoinis among those trying to help make that rise rapid.
I spoke to him a little bit just on sort of, that role change, but I think it's still having that same positive mindset once I get out there is, hopefully the field is out and you can play some nice shots and, there's more gaps.
Fellow Vicks Jake Fraser-McGurk and Will Sutherland will likely be made to wait for their debut. Instead, it's Brisbane quick Xavier Bartlett who's on the brink of his MCG dream.
Just trying to really focus on what I want to try and, how I want to bowl out in the middle and, also try and stay relaxed, which is hard at times with such an exciting opportunity potentially on the horizon.
And Will Pucovski won't step onto Junction Oval when Victoria's Shield season resumes on Saturday, suffering delayed concussion symptoms from a hit to the head 10 days ago.
I think everyone here at Cricket Victoria is making sure that we're doing the right thing, conservative with our approach. So usually it's probably a 7-day approach for recovery for most people. For Will, we've pushed it out to 12.
Joshua Daw, 9 News.
Ben Simmons' comeback is over as quickly as it began. He's pulled out of today's contest for Brooklyn due to a knee injury suffered in his return match. Scans have cleared him of damage, but the Nets say he is a day-to-day prospect until the swelling subsides. Back home, both Melbourne sides tried to play friendly today before reigniting their NBL rivalry in Saturday night's derby.
There's obviously a little bit more added pressure maybe, but also just a little bit more intensity as well. So it's something we're looking forward to, but more just being in front of the home fans again as well.
It'll be United's first game at John Cain Arena in more than a month. And that's sport for tonight.
Great stuff, Tony. Thank you very much for that. Time now to check back in with Livinia, who is at tonight's opening of Groundhog Day, the musical. Evening to you again, Livinia. Tomorrow is actually Groundhog Day in the US.
It is, Alicia, and I'm sure that's no coincidence for the premiere of the musical. There's no groundhogs here in Melbourne, but if there were, Punxsutawney Phil could expect to see his shadow with plenty more summer sunshine on the way. I'll have the Friday forecast along with the latest on our hot weekend next.
Switch on a Daikin Alira X split system with advanced streamer technology to remove more than 99% of harmful indoor air pollutants and surround yourself with cleaner air this summer. Daikin, perfecting the air.
Hello again from the Princess Theatre ahead of tonight's premiere of Groundhog Day the musical. Of course, the main character is a weather presenter and Melbourne has turned on an appropriately beautiful evening. After a mild top of 24, it's still sitting on 22. Geelong did even better this afternoon, warming up to 27. Winds were coming in from the southwest, so they picked up some cooler air over the bay. It was cooler in eastern suburbs. Frankston only reached 23, Moorabbin 24. Most spots in the state's south recorded maximums of 23 to 25 degrees, but once again it's been much warmer through the north with maximums of 33 and 34 along the Murray. Tomorrow, a high-pressure system sitting over the Bight will direct southwesterly winds across Victoria. It's going to be slightly cooler than today through southern parts of the state. But that high will start to send in warmer northerlies on Saturday, and that will be the nicer day of the weekend. It'll be even hotter on Sunday and extremely windy as a cool change closes in. The Mallee and Wimmera district are likely to be under extreme fire danger ratings, and total fire bans are also expected to be in place. But it's Perth that's feeling the heat right now. 42 yesterday, 43 today, a top of 37 tomorrow. Brisbane 33, Sydney 28. Back home, southern parts of the state will be cool again, and there's also likely to be a few isolated showers, mostly likely along the southwest coast, Phillip Island and the Yarra Ranges. But it'll be another sunny and warm day in the north, and once again, most spots should reach the low to mid-30s. Here in Melbourne, there'll be some cloud about in the early morning, then mostly sunny skies and maximums of 22 and 23. Geelong also has a lovely mild summer's day ahead with a top of 23. The city should drop to 16, then just 21 in the afternoon. Then summer is out in full force over the weekend, a 10-degree jump on Saturday, 31 degrees. 34 on Sunday with gusty northerly winds ahead of a cool change, and the timing of that change will determine exactly how hot it will get. It should reach the city in the early afternoon, and that should cap the mercury at 34. but northern suburbs are expected to reach 36 and 37. Then a few cool days to recover, a top of just 22 on Monday with a chance of a shower, cloudy and 22 again on Tuesday, a few breaks of sunshine and 21 on Wednesday, and a cloudy start to Thursday, then a top of 22. Now, Groundhog Day the musical runs until early April, and one thing I can promise you is that this weather presenter won't be singing anytime soon, Alicia and Tom.
Oh, come on, Livo, maybe one time. No, that's a firm no. And that is 9 News this Thursday. Ali is up next with the current affair.
We hope you have a great evening from all of us. Good night.